Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the early hours, sunlight slanted across the bathroom, illuminating the medicine bottle on the counter like a sacred emblem. Bathed in this amber glow, a figure stood before the mirror, their reflection unfamiliar, the image of a stranger. "Today," they vowed, their voice laced with a mix of excitement and fear. "The waiting ends." With this declaration, they took a bold first step, swallowing the hormone pill, a mere speck in their palm, signifying far more than its size. This ritual marked the culmination of a lifetime's worth of constraint, the life of a person known as Nolan, whose legacy would now pivot towards an uncharted future. Nolan's hands, slightly shaking, reached for their phone, capturing this pivotal dawn. In the photo, their newly shorn hair glimmered gold, and eyes, brimming with emotions held back, shone with determination. The inscription, Day 1, adorned the bottom of the frame, a simple yet profound testament. As dusk fell under the newly christened album, The Emergence of Meredith, the photo was immortalized, accompanied by introspective notes. "In honor of my grandmother, I shall be Meredith. She was the strongest, most authentic person I've ever known. I hope I make her proud." The days turned to weeks, each morning beginning with another pill and another photo, documenting the journey in a private visual diary. At first, the changes were subtle, barely perceptible except to the most discerning eye, but Nolan noticed every minor shift, every soft edge emerging where angles had once dominated. By the third month, small curves began appearing in places that had always been flat. Wearing the same gray t-shirt in photos revealed a gradually changing silhouette. Trips to thrift stores yielded clothing experiments, loose blouses, flowing tops, and eventually, after much hesitation, a royal blue pencil dress that hung in the closet for weeks before Nolan found the courage to try it on. The moment finally arrived on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Standing before the full-length mirror in the bedroom, Nolan carefully stepped into the royal blue fabric, pulling it up and over newly sensitive skin. The dress hugged in ways that accentuated the developing curves, highlighting what hormone therapy had begun reshaping. With trembling fingers, Nolan smoothed the fabric down over hips that seemed slightly wider than before. "Hello, Meredith," came the whispered greeting to the reflection. The blonde hair remained short, but styled differently now, softer, with side-swept bangs that framed the face in a more feminine manner. The selfie captured that day showed something transformative, not just in the physical form wrapped in royal blue fabric, but in the eyes. They held a clarity that had never been present in earlier photos. This image joined the others in the private album, a visual journal of becoming. Work remained a complicated territory. Nolan had taken a position at Westfield Media Solutions 8 months before beginning transition, establishing a reputation as a dedicated analyst with a keen eye for data patterns. The job offered excellent health benefits, a primary reason for choosing it, but the corporate environment seemed traditional, making the prospect of coming out daunting. For now, Nolan maintained 2 separate wardrobes, loose-fitting khakis and button-downs in muted colors for the office, and an increasingly feminine collection for evenings and weekends. The blonde hair could pass as simply trendy in either context, though styling changed dramatically between work and home. 6 months into hormone therapy, Nolan began searching for a new apartment. The current studio had witnessed the beginning of the journey, but its proximity to several nosy neighbors made discretion difficult. The new place, a 1-bedroom on the 4th floor of a modern building across town, offered not just privacy, but a fresh start. Moving day arrived with unexpected emotion. Packing 2 distinct wardrobes into separate boxes labeled simply work and home felt symbolic of a divided life that couldn't continue indefinitely. The royal blue dress, now joined by several others in various colors, hung in garment bags with care. The new apartment came together quickly. By Sunday evening, Nolan sat cross-legged on the floor of the walk-in closet, arranging shoes by height and color, the home wardrobe now taking up significantly more space than the increasingly uncomfortable work clothes.
"Tomorrow,"
came the promise to the empty room. "I'll take photos to send everyone at work." Monday morning arrived with sunshine streaming through new windows. After preparing for work in the increasingly uncomfortable male attire, khaki pants, and a navy button-down that concealed the changes beneath, Nolan took 20 minutes to capture images of the new apartment to share with colleagues. The living room with its mid-century modern sofa in charcoal gray, the kitchen with copper accents and white marble countertops, the small balcony with 2 chairs and a thriving potted fern. Each photo carefully framed to show the space without revealing too much personal detail. During lunch break, Nolan created a cloud share link containing the apartment photos and sent it to the team group chat with a message. "Finally settled in the new place, virtual housewarming." The responses came quickly. Compliments on the decor choices, questions about the neighborhood, jokes about when an actual housewarming party might happen. Nolan answered each message with friendly deflection, having no intention of hosting colleagues in a space that had become increasingly personal. It wasn't until arriving home that evening, changing into a comfortable green wrap dress and checking personal emails, that the horrible realization struck. The cloud share link had defaulted to include all recent photo albums, including Becoming Meredith. Cold panic washed through every nerve ending. Fumbling with the phone, Nolan checked the shared link settings and discovered the horrifying truth. The entire transition documentation, including dozens of selfies tracking physical changes and notes about emotional milestones, had been accessible to everyone on the work team for over 6 hours.
"No, no, no,"
came the whispered mantra while frantically attempting to revoke access. The link disappeared from sharing status, but the damage was done. There was no way to know who had clicked through all the albums or what they had seen. Sleep refused to come that night. Lying awake in silk pajamas, Nolan stared at the ceiling, mentally drafting resignation letters while fighting waves of nausea. Years of education and building a career potentially destroyed by a single technological oversight. The office phone rang precisely at 8:03 the next morning.
"Nolan, can you stop by my office before the morning meeting?"
Mr. Harrington's voice revealed nothing of his thoughts. "Of course, sir. I'll be right there." The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like a march to execution. Nolan carried a manila folder containing hastily printed resignation papers, a preemptive surrender to the inevitable. The khaki pants and green button-down shirt felt like a costume now, constrictive and false. Mr. Harrington's door stood partially open. After a quick knock, Nolan entered to find the company's CEO standing by the window, back turned.
"Please, have a seat."
He gestured without turning around. Nolan sat rigidly in one of the leather chairs, facing the desk, resignation folder clutched like a shield.
"I assume you know why I've called you in."
Mr. Harrington finally turned, his expression unreadable.
"Yes, sir. About the photos. I deeply apologize for the inappropriate content in that shared link. It was completely unintentional, and I understand it puts you in a difficult position."
The words came out in practiced cadence, rehearsed throughout the sleepless night.
"I've prepared my resignation, effective immediately if you prefer."
Mr. Harrington's eyebrows rose slightly as he moved to his chair.
"Resignation? That seems rather extreme.
Sir? Confusion replaced the rehearsed speech.
Nolan? Or would you prefer I call you Meredith? Your file indicates your legal name hasn't changed yet, but I want to respect your preference.
The question hung in the air, impossible and surreal. After a moment of stunned silence, the answer came in a barely audible voice.
Meredith. I'd prefer Meredith.
Mr. Harrington nodded, as if they were discussing something as mundane as quarterly reports.
Meredith, then. I'm not going to pretend I understand everything about what you're experiencing, but what I do understand is that you're the same person who increased our data efficiency by 23% last quarter.
He leaned forward, resting folded hands on his desk.
Did you know Westfield has a transition support program?
What? The resignation papers slipped slightly in suddenly nerveless fingers. It's relatively new, established last year after our benefits department recognized a gap in our inclusivity policies. He opened a drawer and withdrew a folder with the company logo. This contains information about our healthcare coverage for transition-related medical needs, guidelines for using appropriate facilities during your transition, and HR contacts who can help navigate any workplace concerns. The folder slid across the polished desk surface. But Words failed as the weight of anticipated disaster lifted, replaced by a confused weightlessness.
You're not firing me?
A smile finally broke through Mr. Harrington's professional demeanor.
Firing one of our most promising analysts because she's transgender would be not only morally wrong, but spectacularly bad business.
And contrary to what you might think, I'm rather good at business decisions. Tears threatened, but years of practice holding emotions in check kept them at bay. I don't know what to say.
You don't need to say anything right now. Take this information, review it, and let HR know how you'd like to proceed regarding your workplace transition. The only question I have is whether you'd prefer to continue presenting as you currently are for now, or if you'd like to begin coming to work as Meredith immediately. The question pierced straight through carefully constructed compartmentalization. The thought of continuing the exhausting double life suddenly seemed impossible compared to the alternative being offered. I would prefer to come as myself, as Meredith. Then that's what we'll do. Mr. Harrington stood, signaling the end of the meeting. HR will send a brief, appropriate email to your department today. And Meredith, that royal blue dress in your photos, it's a good color for you. Professional, yet distinctive. The day passed in a blur of conversations with HR representatives, discussions about timeline preferences, and paperwork for email address changes and updated security badges. The resignation letter remained in its folder, untouched and unnecessary. That evening, standing before the closet in the new apartment, Meredith pulled out the royal blue pencil dress and laid it across the bed alongside a tan cardigan and modest heels. For the first time, tomorrow's work clothes would reflect the truth rather than conceal it. The first day walking into Westfield Media Solutions, as Meredith arrived with surprising calm. The royal blue dress fit perfectly, complemented by natural makeup, small pearl earrings, and the blonde hair styled to maximize femininity despite its shorter length. The security guard issued a new badge without comment, and the elevator ride passed without incident. Conversations paused briefly when Meredith entered the analyst department, but resumed almost immediately. A few colleagues offered quiet words of support throughout the morning. By lunch, the department had largely adjusted to the change with minimal disruption, a testament to Mr. Harrington's professional approach to the situation. As weeks passed, Meredith's wardrobe expanded to include more workplace-appropriate options. Earth-toned wrap dresses became a signature look,
often paired with statement necklaces that drew attention upward toward an increasingly confident face framed by growing blonde hair. The Becoming Meredith photo album continued, but the tone shifted from documentation of a secret journey to celebration of an authentic life. Selfies in work attire joined images of weekend outings and quiet evenings at home, all featuring the same emerging woman with blonde hair and a growing sense of peace. 3 months after beginning to work as Meredith, an opportunity arose for advancement. The lead analyst position for the company's largest client had opened unexpectedly. Despite concerns about timing, Meredith submitted an application, complete with recent performance metrics that exceeded department standards. The interview committee consisted of 3 senior managers and Mr. Harrington himself. Wearing a forest green wrap dress with a subtle pattern and her now signature statement necklace, amber and gold that complemented her blonde hair, Meredith presented her qualifications with newfound confidence. "The data patterns suggest we should adjust our approach with this client," she explained, pointing to projected figures on the conference room screen. "Their engagement increases substantially when content addresses practical solutions rather than aspirational messaging." Mr. Harrington nodded approvingly. "Excellent analysis. How would you restructure the team to implement these changes?" The question led to a detailed discussion of management styles and efficiency models, areas where Meredith had excelled even before transition. Throughout the interview, not a single question or comment addressed anything but professional qualifications. 2 days later, the position was offered with a substantial salary increase and expanded benefits package. The official email arrived with a personal note from Mr. Harrington. "Your authentic self is proving to be an exceptional asset to this company. Congratulations." The promotion brought new challenges, including leading a team that included 2 members who had known Nolan for years. While most adapted quickly to working with Meredith, one analyst, Richard from accounting, consistently used incorrect pronouns in meetings and made thinly veiled comments about political correctness. After the 3rd such incident, Meredith requested a private conversation in a small conference room. "Richard, I've noticed you seem uncomfortable addressing me correctly in meetings." He shifted, avoiding eye contact. "It's nothing personal. I just knew you before as, you know." It's hard to keep track of what everyone wants to be called these days. Meredith sat perfectly straight in her copper-colored wrap dress, hands folded calmly on the table. "I understand change can be challenging, but professional respect isn't optional in this workplace. If you're genuinely struggling with memory, I suggest writing yourself a note until it becomes natural." "And if I don't?" The challenge came with crossed arms and a defiant stare. "Then I'll document the pattern of disrespect and submit it through proper channels." The response came without heat or accusation, simply stated fact. "I'd prefer we work together effectively, Richard. The choice is yours." The next team meeting included no pronoun mistakes from Richard. Within 3 weeks, the correct name and pronouns seemed to become automatic for him. 6 months later, he approached Meredith after a particularly successful client presentation. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly as others filtered out of the conference room. "I was being deliberately difficult last year. My brother came out as transgender around the same time, and I wasn't handling it well. Watching you navigate everything so professionally made me realize I was being unfair to both of you." The admission came as a surprise. "I appreciate your honesty, Richard. How are things with your brother now?" "Better. Not perfect, but better." He shrugged. "Your presentation was excellent today, by the way. That burgundy dress is a good color for important meetings. Makes you look authoritative." The comment, delivered awkwardly but sincerely, represented something significant. Richard seeing Meredith as simply another professional woman in the workplace,
whose clothing choices could be commented on professionally without underlying tension.
Thank you, Richard. I'll remember that for the Henderson pitch next month.
As the 1-year anniversary of beginning work as Meredith approached, life had settled into comfortable rhythms. The workplace transition that had once seemed impossibly frightening had become simply one aspect of a multifaceted career. Colleagues who had never known Nolan now made up the majority of Meredith's professional interactions. The Becoming Meredith album received fewer updates, not because the journey had ended, but because living as Meredith no longer required documentation to feel real. Everyday existence had become the evidence. On the anniversary morning, Meredith stood before the mirror in a rich olive wrap dress that complemented both her blonde hair, now falling just below her shoulders, and the amber statement necklace that had become something of a professional trademark. The softness in her face and the curves beneath the fabric told the story of physical changes, but the confidence in her posture spoke of something deeper. A knock at the door interrupted her reflection. The delivery person handed over a small package with the Westfield Company logo. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, lay a silver pen engraved with her name, Meredith Fisher, and a handwritten note from Mr. Harrington. Celebrating 1 year of your authentic contributions to our team. Your courage benefits us all. The gesture, simple but meaningful, brought unexpected tears. Setting the pen carefully on her desk, Meredith took a moment to absorb how completely her professional fears had been transformed. Later that afternoon, while leading a strategy meeting, Meredith noticed a new employee struggling to follow complex data patterns. Remembering her own early days at the company, she paused the presentation. "Let's approach this differently," she suggested, adjusting the display to show the information in a more accessible format. "Sometimes we need to see things from a new perspective to recognize their true value." The small adjustment allowed the meeting to continue productively, with the grateful new hire actively participating in subsequent discussions. It was a minor moment, but one that reflected everything Meredith had learned about the importance of allowing authenticity to flourish. That evening, attending the company's quarterly social event, Meredith found herself in conversation with clients who had never known her before transition. Wearing a deep copper cocktail dress that complemented her blonde hair and statement jewelry, she discussed market trends and data implications with easy confidence. "Your analysis of consumer behavior patterns is fascinating," commented one client, a senior marketing director from a major retail chain. "Have you always had such insight into how people present themselves to the world?" The question, asked without any knowledge of its personal resonance, brought a genuine smile. "Let's just say I've developed a deep appreciation for the relationship between authentic presentation and successful outcomes." The director raised her glass slightly. "Well, it certainly shows in your work. Westfield was wise to put you in a leadership position." As the evening concluded, Meredith found Mr. Harrington preparing to leave. "Thank you for the anniversary gift," she said, touching the small silver pen she'd transferred to her evening clutch. It was incredibly thoughtful. "You've earned more than a pen, Meredith. Your transition has been professionally handled at every stage. In fact, our HR department has asked if you might consider helping develop additional training materials based on your experience." The request presented an unexpected opportunity to transform personal challenges into broader support systems. "I'd be honored to contribute. There were certainly moments when I could have used such resources." "Excellent. They'll contact you next week to discuss details." He hesitated briefly before adding, "I should tell you, your accidental photo share last year prompted us to review our entire approach to supporting transitioning employees. You've improved this company simply by being yourself." The acknowledgement brought the journey full circle, from accidentally shared photos and fear of termination to being viewed as a catalyst for positive institutional change. The following morning,
preparing for work in a russet-colored wrap dress that brought out amber highlights in her blonde hair, Meredith paused before the mirror. The person looking back bore little physical resemblance to the one who had swallowed that first hormone pill 18 months ago. But the most profound changes weren't visible in flesh or fabric. Opening her phone to the Becoming Meredith album, she scrolled through the visual timeline of transformation, from that first day in the gray t-shirt to recent images of professional success. After a moment's reflection, she renamed the album simply Meredith, removing the becoming that no longer applied. The journey hadn't ended, but its nature had fundamentally shifted from aspiration to existence. The woman in the russet wrap dress with blonde hair and a statement necklace wasn't becoming anything. She simply was. At work that day, leading her team through complex analytics and strategy planning, Meredith found herself completely present in each moment. The constant background awareness of presentation and perception that had accompanied early transition days had faded into the same occasional self-consciousness any professional woman might experience. During lunch, a new hire from the marketing department approached her table. "I hope this isn't inappropriate," the young woman began hesitantly. "But HR mentioned during orientation that you've been instrumental in developing the company's transition support protocols. My cousin is beginning her transition and struggling with workplace issues. Would you mind if I passed along your contact information? She could really use someone to talk to who understands corporate environments." The request represented something Meredith hadn't anticipated, becoming a resource for others navigating similar paths. "Of course, have her email me directly. I'd be happy to share whatever insight might help." That evening, sitting on her balcony with the potted fern that had survived the move and now thrived in its new environment, Meredith reflected on the unexpected turns her journey had taken. The corporate world she had feared would reject her authenticity had instead provided structure and support for her transition. The accidentally shared photos that had seemed catastrophic had catalyzed positive change throughout the company. Her phone buzzed with an email notification. Opening it revealed a message from Mr. Harrington, forwarding information about an upcoming business leadership conference with a personal note. "They're looking for panelists on building inclusive corporate cultures. Your name immediately came to mind. Interested?" The opportunity to shape broader business practices, to transform her individual experience into institutional wisdom, represented everything Meredith had hoped to achieve professionally, regardless of gender. Her response was immediate. "Absolutely interested. Thank you for the recommendation." Setting down the phone, Meredith ran her fingers through her blonde hair, now long enough to style in multiple ways, but consistently maintained in a color that had become integral to her identity. The royal blue dress that had once represented a tentative step toward authenticity now hung in her closet alongside dozens of others, each representing not transformation, but integration. The journey from Nolan to Meredith had never been about becoming someone else, but rather about allowing the truth to emerge from behind carefully constructed barriers. The person who had once documented every small change now lived fully in each moment, recognized professionally for contributions that transcended gender, while being respected for the courage that transition required. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, a client presentation, team management decisions, planning for the upcoming panel participation. But for the first time since beginning hormone therapy in that bathroom so many months ago, Meredith approached the future with neither fear nor cautious hope, but with the quiet confidence of someone living in complete alignment with her truth. The accidental photo share that had once seemed like the end of everything had instead become the beginning of something far more significant than she could have imagined. Not just personal authenticity, but the opportunity to create pathways for others to achieve the same. As evening settled over the balcony, Meredith made a mental note to wear the forest green wrap dress to tomorrow's presentation, not because it concealed or revealed anything about her journey, but simply because it complemented her professional authority and the blonde hair that framed a face now completely at peace with its reflection.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!